Hello, everyone. Welcome to Barca News. It is July 14th, 2025, and Lamine Yamal could be in legal trouble after the Spanish government have requested an investigation into the party of the Barcelona star. Also, reports stating that Barcelona are interested in Bryan Zaragoza. And finally, Christopher Nkunku has emerged as a possible option for Barcelona. We have a lot to discuss, so let's begin. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the channel. My name is Mo, and this is the Barca News live podcast, which is on every Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, where not only we discuss Barcelona news, but we also get to interact with you lovely people in the chat section by reading your comments, answering any questions, and getting the discussion going live. This is why podcast days are my favorite days. For those of you who will be watching when the podcast ends, I will be putting timestamps in the description, chapters in the timeline, in case you do want to skip through the discussion and get straight into the news. Having said all that, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, drop a comment. All of this helps this channel continue to grow. If you are looking for any Barcelona jerseys or merchandise, make sure to Goal Kids, Kit Bag, or Fanatics, where you can buy the new home kit. And finally, if you want to place any sports bets, not just some Barcelona matches on any sporting event around the world, make sure you hit the Bet Us. The links are in the description. You click on them, you get access to some pretty cool deals and offers courtesy of Barca News, including, I think it's $150 free if you join Bet Us using the link down below. All right, let's begin with the news. And as always, the first segment of this podcast comprises of several bits of news all combined together, starting with that Barcelona have finally and officially announced the signing of Roony Barghji, who has become Barcelona's newest signing. The 19-year-old right winger has officially joined Barcelona from FC Copenhagen for around, saying 2 to 2.5 million euros. Of course, Roony Barghji had his debut with FC Copenhagen at 17 years old. He shocked the world in that Champions League match against Manchester United, where he helped FC Copenhagen mount a comeback. After that, there were plenty of European clubs interested in him, but unfortunately, an ACL injury sidelined him for almost a year, and many of those clubs who were interested in him backed off. But then Barcelona received reports that Roony Barghji had fully recovered from an ACL injury, so they decided to sign him. He underwent his first set of medical exams at FC Copenhagen. Yesterday, he reported to the medical testing with the rest of Barcelona players, and it looks like the medical testing went well. That's the testing where I told you that Barcelona wanted to really examine his knee up close to make sure that it had healed. It looks like it is healed and everything is great, because that was the only thing pending for Barcelona to finalize the signing. And since they have finalized the signing, of course, we can assume that the medical tests went A-OK. And now Barcelona making this signing official. Roony Barghji has signed until 2029, so a 4-year contract. And as I've been telling you this whole time, he's a Barca Athletic signing. I had people who were like, Mo, Fabrizio Romano said he's a first-team signing. You don't know what you're talking about. Well, Barcelona have confirmed what I've been saying this whole time, that he's a Barca Athletic signing, not a first-team signing. Nonetheless, Roony will be participating in the preseason with the first team. He's also expected to travel to Asia, to Korea and Japan with the first team as well. And after the preseason, Hansi Flick will decide. Either Roony stays in the first team as a Barca Athletic player, or he continues with Barca Athletic, playing with Barca Athletic, but training with the first team. Or there's also the third option, where if Flick believes, hey, this guy has potential, but it still needs to develop, and maybe some first division minutes could do him some well, they could also consider loaning him out to a first division team. They're saying Mallorca are very interested in Roony, so that could also be an option. So 3 options on the table. He stays with the first team. He plays with Barca Athletic, but trains with the first team, or he goes alone. And again, all this will depend on how he performs during the preseason and during the preseason Asia tour. Hopefully Roony absolutely kills it and then ends up staying with the first team, because if he does, that means he's amazing. And why wouldn't we want an amazing player on our first team? Now, Roony Barghji has played a total of 85 matches where he scored 15 goals, provided 3 assists, and where he was key in FC Copenhagen winning 3 league trophies and 2 cups. So hopefully Roony will also aid Barcelona in winning trophies this season and many more to come. All right, speaking of the preseason, as I already mentioned yesterday, players reported to the medical testing. They were all supposed to be there by 9 a.m. Out of the 35 players that reported to medical testing, only one was late, and it was Hector Fort. Hector Fort was late to the medical testing, and this has not sat well with Hansi Flick. Now, it's reported that Hector Fort was present at Lamine Yamal's party. Lamine Yamal turned 18 years old yesterday, but his party was on Saturday. We talked about it in a previous video. He hired a private events place in Ibiza, invited a lot of famous people. No cell phones were allowed. Hector Fort was at that party, and they're saying he was one of the last people to leave. And it looks like, well, he overslept. He showed up late to the medical testing, and this did not sit well with Hansi Flick, who we know is very, very strict as far as discipline, and he hates tardiness. He actually ended up benching Koundé 3 times last season for showing up late. So we'll see what Hector Fort's punishment is. But look, all I have to say is, bro, what are you doing? I mean, you're not even the starter. If Hansi Flick does not even flinch at benching his starter, Jules Koundé, one of the best right backs in Europe, why would you go and do this, especially since you're trying to earn a spot to begin with? I mean, Eric Garcia has already surpassed you, and he's not even a right back. Right now, it's Koundé number 1, Eric Garcia number 2. You're number 3, and if you truly say you want to earn a spot, I mean, come on, man. How are you going to show up late to the first day of the preseason? It's like my parents always told me. They said, look, you want to go to parties? That's fine. If you are man enough and responsible enough and grown enough to go to parties, then you better be grown enough and man enough and adult enough to next day you wake up early and you go to school or you go to work, whatever you have to do. Because if you want to party, that's fine. But you also have responsibilities and you have to tend to those responsibilities. So Hector Fort, come on, bro. Get it together, especially since you're trying to earn a spot on Flick's team. This is not the way to do it. Now, the last bit of news is regarding our home, our fortress, the historic Camp Nou, now named Spotify Camp Nou, because as I told you previously last month, UEFA inspectors visited the Camp Nou to make sure that the construction was going at the right pace, to make sure things were doing the right way. And UEFA did approve the progress of the Camp Nou because, of course, in order to play in the Champions League, you have to have a stadium that meets certain requirements and certain regulations. So UEFA inspectors were there to make sure that some have been met, the other ones are on the way to be met. And UEFA was like, you guys are doing a great job. Well, now La Liga inspectors have inspected Barcelona Stadium because just like the Champions League, in order to play in first division football in Spain, you also have to meet certain requirements with your stadium. So today, La Liga's inspectors visited the pitch, and the report states that it looks like Barcelona are on track for their return for this La Liga season. Barcelona are expected to be back at the Camp Nou the weekend of September 13/September 14th. That's the weekend that Barcelona will be playing against Valencia. That will be the 4th fixture of this upcoming season. And it's the first fixture at home because remember, Barcelona did request from La Liga that the first three fixtures be away to give Barcelona more time to get the stadium ready. La Liga approved it. Our first 3 matches are indeed away, but the 4th one against Valencia will be at home. So La Liga inspected the stadium, and they have concluded that Barcelona are indeed on track to be ready for that weekend. And they also inspected the VIP seats because remember, Barcelona sold some VIP seats in exchange for 100 million. The auditor said you cannot count those 100 million because the seats are not built. Now they are. So Barcelona expect that those 100 million euros count as income, and with that, achieve the 1-1 rule, where La Liga inspectors went and saw the VIP seats, made sure that they are built. So that's another good plus for Barcelona. So it looks like we'll be back home, or at least it's most likely we're going to be back home by September 13th, the 14th. Of course, the question still remains in regards to the Joan Gamper Trophy, which is on August 10th against Como. The question is it going to be 60,000? Is it going to be 30,000? I'm leaning towards 30,000, honestly. I don't know if the stadium will be ready in like less than a month to host 60,000 people. most likely 30, which was the initial plan. But then Laporta was like, no, 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 it's going to be 60. And now it's like, oh, crap, I shouldn't have said anything. It should be 30. So that's my feeling. But either way, I don't care. As long as we are back by the time the season begins, that's all that matters. I don't care if the Juan Gamper is played with 30,000, 60,000, or with 2 people. As long as we're back for the season, I am all for it. And I'm excited to be back in our home stadium. All right, let's begin with the comment section. And then we are going to talk about Lamine Yamal, because since I did mention his party, well, guess what? He's in legal trouble, but we're going to talk about it. I don't want to say anything more. Mike says, what's up, Mo? Who do you think Barca will sign next? Realistically, of course. I think realistically it will be Rashford. I don't know why I forgot his name. I've said his name a million times this past few weeks. But I think it'll be Rashford just because it's the most feasible operation, right? It will be a loan, so no transfer fee. He's willing to reduce his salary, which would make it easier for Barcelona to register him. The player is dying to come. He's willing to wait. He's willing to force his way out of Man U on loan. I mean, he's willing to do everything in his power to make this move happen. So I think that would be the next most realistic signing. We'll see if there'll be another one. Doubt it. But right now, one step at a time. We finished Juan Garcia, Roony, Barghji. I think Rashford will be the next feasible one. Oh, and we have a donation already from Shin. Thank you, my friend, for your donation. As always, very, very generous of you. But Shin says, after reports today, I'm hoping with every ounce of my being that Lamine Yamal isn't morphing into Neymar 2.0. I hope not either. But here's the thing. Lamine Yamal had his party on Saturday, and it was like a total banger. And yet he still made it to the medical testing on time. And yet Hector 4, who wasn't his party, he showed up late. So it looks like we were worried about the wrong player now, because, look, if Lamine wants to party, have a great time, spend his money, that's his business, as long as it doesn't affect his career as a footballer, right? As long as he knows the balance, that there's time to party, there's time to work hard, and as long as the two don't start mixing, I think we should be fine. You know, nobody expects these players to be total nuns, and I'm not going to drink, and I'm not going to go out, and I'm not going to have girlfriends, and I'm not going to have sex, and I'm not going to socialize, and I'm just going to be, in the gym 24/7. I'm going to go from my bed to the gym, from the gym to the bed. Obviously, that's very unrealistic. After all, they're still human beings. After all, they're young. They want to party. We all did when we were young, or we all do. If you're still young and watching this, I still do, and I'm 35 years old. I still party all the time. But as long as he knows how to separate work time from play time, I think that's fine. And so far, it looks like it, right? He had huge 18th birthday party, and yet he was still responsible enough to show up to medical testing on time. If I was 18 years old and I had millions to blow on a party, I would not be on time. I probably would have rolled up like at noon, all hungover and drunk, and I probably would have gotten my ass chewed in by the coach. So it looks like Lamine is a lot more responsible at 18 years old than I was when I was 18 years old. That's for sure, 100%. All right, let's see what else. And thank you, of course, for your donation, my friend. Hamad Koroma says, hi, Mo. I'm watching you live in Sierra Leone. I was so happy yesterday when PSG, but I am worried about Lamine issue. I wish everything will be fine for our Diamond Star boy. Amen, my friend. And Shin says, well, that one party already got the Spanish law enforcement and government on his ass. So there's that. I'm not surprised. He is, after all, a Barcelona player. And Shin says, also heard rumors Barca are looking for Nicholas Jackson. That would be the dumbest signing of the decade. Dude isn't even good enough to tie Lewandowski's boots. Not that I'm aware, so be careful with what rumors are out there. Java the Hutt says, it's now concerning what's happening with Lamine. Hopefully he or somebody can help his head on straight so he doesn't end up like Neymar. Again, as long as he knows how to separate, I'm all good. David says, kind of hoping if we sign Rashford, he may be able to relay his experience about partying and stunning his career to Lamine. You know what? I think, and this is, of course, is documented, so this is not really my opinion, but it looks like Rafinha has really taken Lamine under his wing, and he's been kind of like a big brother, where he was like, hey, like, you should work hard, just focus on your career, because if there's anyone who works as hard as Rafinha, I don't want to meet that guy because he must be nuts, right? Because if the hardest one on the hardest working player on the team is Rafinha, no doubt. Even when I used to criticize him his first 2 seasons when he had really bad seasons, I always still said, he sucks, but he is a hard worker. That guy doesn't give up. I mean, he has an endless tank of gas, and he just runs for 90 minutes every single match, every single competition. He just does not get tired, does not get injured. So I think that's great. I think that's really, really cool that Rafinha has done that, that's taking Lamine under his wing, because I think that's the best role model that you can have on a team. Someone who lifted himself from poverty, because I shared with you the story of Rafinha a long time ago about how he was so poor in Brazil. He used to finish training and then he would go out on the street and beg for money for water or food. And to go from that, from being so poor that you can't even afford your own water or food, to be at Barcelona, I mean, that is pure dedication. That is pure hard work. I mean, that is, the pretty much the epitome of what dedication looks like, and a desire to improve your condition, right? And Rafinha's not that gifted, right? He's not Lamine Yamal, so it's not like he became a Barca player just because he was born with talent and he was just given an opportunity. No, he worked really, really, really hard for that opportunity. So I think it's great that Rafinha has taken Lamine under his wing, because there's no better role model than Rafinha on the team right now. Wisdom says, I think the Yamal situation is way overblown. One of the dwarfs came out and debunked the whole stuff. They offered a service and were paid for it. I don't see what the big deal is. Good morning, Mo. Good morning, my friend. Thank you for your comment. And with that, let's transition into the next segment, which is in regards to what Wisdom was talking about, which is Lamine Yamal, because Lamine Yamal could be in legal trouble as the Spanish Ministry for Social Rights have requested an investigation into his party. Now, as I mentioned before, Lamine Yamal had a birthday party on Saturday. His birthday is actually yesterday, Sunday, July 13th. But of course, he wasn't going to party on a Sunday because today the players were back in training. So instead, he did his party on Saturday, rented a big events place, venue in Ibiza, invited celebrities, invited all kinds of people, football players. Cell phones were completely prohibited. No one was allowed to film inside. And it was a big, big blowout. And, well, he's gotten in trouble because some videos have leaked that showed people with dwarfism or dwarves showing up to the party as entertainers. So it looks like Lamine Yamal or whoever organized this party hired dwarves to perform at his party. And this has sparked a huge outrage by the Spanish government, or more specifically, the Spanish Ministry for Social Rights, who have requested from the prosecutor's office, the Spanish ombudsman, and the Office for Combating Hate Crimes, has requested from all three agencies, the Spanish ministry has requested from all these three agencies to launch an investigation into the party and into Lamine Yamal hiring dwarves for entertainment. I mean, you would think this guy hired a cartel to take out someone he didn't like. Now, a statement was released by the organization that protects people with disabilities, or with dwarfism, to be more specific. I wrote down the name in the slide because I was like, there's no way I'm going to remember this long-ass name. Wait a minute. There we go. Let's make that. No, there we go. The Association for People with Achondroplasia and Other Skeletal Dysplasias with Dwarfism. That's the organization's name, or the ADEE. We're just going to call it ADEE because that name is way too long. Released the following statement. We condemn the hiring of individuals with dwarfism as entertainers. The act violates current laws and fundamental ethical value. And they also announced that they would take legal and social action to protect the dignity of people with disabilities. So everybody is up in arms because how dare Lamine Yamal hire dwarves as entertainers? Now, this is where I think a law that was aimed to protect is being used in the opposite way, which is to harm. Because discrimination should not be allowed in society, whatever it is, whether it's based on race, religion, ethnicity, or disability. And no one should be denied an opportunity like a job or a school application. No one should be abused verbally or physically for having a disability. And I'm glad that these laws exist. And I'm glad that there are organizations in charge of enforcing these laws in order to protect those with disabilities from abuse or from discrimination. But that's not what happened here. Okay. This was Lamine Yamal who hired entertainers who happen to be dwarves, and I just don't see how could this be discrimination or abuse. This is not like Lamine Yamal invited some people who with dwarfism was like, hey, come to my party. And when they showed up, everybody was like, ha ha ha, look at these guys. They look silly or blah, blah, blah. That's not what happened. These were consenting adults who are entertainers who got hired for a service and got paid for that service. So how is this discrimination? How is this abuse? This was not forced labor. This was not indentured servitude. This was not dwarves who were kidnapped off the street to put on display and be laughed at and like, oh, look at these guys. This was not dwarves who were not allowed into the party because, oh, well, you're a dwarf. Lamine doesn't like you because you're a dwarf. You cannot come in. No, no, no. These are entertainers who are happen to be dwarves who got hired for a service, who got paid for the service, and they performed the service. So how is discrimination? I don't know. If anything, what this Spanish ministry is doing is hurting dwarves with who are entertainers, because now they're saying you cannot hire them. Okay, if you are a comedian who's also a dwarf, or by the way, there's someone who's very famous. I forgot his name here in the U.S. Very funny guy. But if you're a comedian and you're a dwarf, or if you're a dwarf and you're a clown, or if you're a dwarf and you're a magician, you can't hire them, right? Because it's discrimination. So what are you doing here? You're actually not protecting people with dwarfism. You're hurting them because now they're not going to be able to get hired because people are going to be thinking, oh, shit, should I hire this guy? What if I just get investigated and arrested and prosecuted for this? I mean, again, this is a perfect example of a law that was enacted to protect people, and instead they're using it to hurt those same people that it's supposed to protect. Because now, oh, we cannot hire dwarves as entertainers because, oh my God, that's discrimination and abuse. And in fact, if you don't want to listen to my opinion, here's a statement by one of the entertainers that was actually hired for this party. And this is what he had to say. Let's see. Let's make this bigger. No one disrespected us. We were allowed to work in peace. I don't understand what's become such a big deal. We're normal people who dedicate ourselves to what we love doing in an absolutely legal way. For a couple of years, these people, the ADEE, have wanted to harm us, that want to prevent us from doing what we like, but they have not offered any work or training to those who are affected. We work as entertainers. Why can't we do what we do? We dance, we do magic. There are all types of shows. We were treated like anyone else at the party. Everyone had a good time. All this fuss has come about purely because it was Lamine Yamal's party. So there you have it, folks. This is one of the entertainers that was hired by Lamine saying, what the fuck are you guys doing? Like, we're entertainers. We dedicate our lives and our careers to this. I mean, as an entertainer, you put in a lot of work in building whatever show that you do and perfecting it and practicing it. And you do all this hard work to hone and improve your craft so you can earn money from it. And there's this organization that supposedly protects you, telling you, no, 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 no. Fuck all the time that you put into your show and perfecting it, and fuck all your skills. Nobody can hire you because that's discrimination against you. So you can't work anymore, because, oh, that's this. What are we doing here? What are we doing here? Is this a joke, Spanish ministry? Like, did you not sit back and think, what are the implications of what I'm going to do here? Well, the implication is that you're hurting the people that you supposedly are trying to protect, because you're preventing them from working by saying that you're protecting them by preventing them from working in a legal way. These are not prostitutes or drug dealers. These are entertainers who work as entertainers in a legal capacity as consenting adults, What are we doing here? But anyways, let's get back to the comment section, and then we are gonna talk about Bryan Zaragoza, or how the Spaniards would say Zaragoza. All right, let's see. Where did we leave off? Blah, 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 blah. There we go. Ultra Flux says, why the hell would we get Nkunku when Dani Olmo and Fermin and Gabi are available? We'll talk about that in a little bit. I don't want to get ahead of myself, but nonetheless, thank you for your comment. Rufus says, hi, Mo. I'm from Liberia. Thank you so much for the news. Thank you, my friend, for watching. Kaido says, when will Lamine get the number 10 jersey? It was supposed to be announced on his birthday, July 13th, but they haven't announced it. I don't know why. Lamine himself had requested that. I don't know, but maybe this day, maybe this, not this day, this week, I should say. Maybe now that that the players are all back in Barcelona. Lamine wasn't back yet until yesterday, medical testing. So maybe that's why, his 13th birthday was supposed to be the day Barcelona announced it. So since he was in Ibiza partying and apparently violating people's rights for hiring them, maybe that's why Barcelona didn't do it. And maybe now that he's actually back in the city of Barcelona, then maybe they'll do it this week, because, they weren't just going to announce Lamine gets the 10. They're going to want to do photo shoot and, announcement. And if he's not there in the city of Barcelona to do all that, that's probably why they didn't. So if I had to guess, I'd probably say this week, right? Let's see. Nima S says, hi, Mo. What are all these reports on Cospo's transfer after being 500K with no buyback sell-on clause? Can you confirm or deny? Nothing. The guy wanted to leave. He left. Barcelona sold him for $1 million, and they retain a percentage of any future buy. Now, everybody's freaking out. Nobody even know who Cospo was yesterday. And then today, everybody's like, I have a feeling that it has to do with some YouTube video that surfaced. I didn't watch it. I was flipping through YouTube, and I got recommended video. Barcelona are making this huge fucking mistake, or like some dramatic thumbnail. And it had like something like 40 or 50,000 views. And lo and behold, I see that video being recommended to me, and I start getting all these comments from all these people who all of a sudden were Cospo fans since he was 3 years old. Nothing. The guy wanted to leave. He left. There's not much to it. People are now like, oh, he was the next Puyol / Piqué / Cubarsí / Maldini all combined together. The guy played 12 matches last season. Flick called him up once for training, never called him again. I don't know why people all of a sudden, swearing that, we just sold Maldini, and how dare Barcelona. Oh my God, the end of the world. Cherno says, good evening, Mo. How is your beautiful family? I always follow your program. Thank you so much for the update. Cherno Ahmad from Devil Hole, Sierra Leone, Freetown. Thank you, my friend. My family's all great. I also got my dog here somewhere. He's passed out. I don't know if you can see him. He's right there. I want his life. The guy doesn't work, doesn't clean, doesn't cook, doesn't grocery shop. He just eats, plays, and sleeps. Best life ever. But thank you, my friend. Thank you for your comment. And Shin with another generous donation says, it's a milestone birthday and party away. The kid did his due diligence, showing up to medical on time. I just hope he learns to live under the radar of pitch, because peeps just to be waiting to villainize him for any tiny thing. I 100% agree. Again, if he wants to party, if he wants to bang hookers and do blow, he could do it, as long as that doesn't affect his career. As long as he, does what he needs to do, get the rest that he needs to get, eat what he's supposed to eat, drink what the amount of water he's supposed to drink, and show up to trainings and train hard and work hard and play. And then if he wants to blow steam while on vacation, I think that's up to, he's completely entitled to that. After all, he played every match of every single competition last season, minus 1 or 2 matches here or there. So I think he deserves it. But as long as it doesn't start crossing, and that's when it becomes a problem. Neymar, the problem wasn't that he just partied. The problem is that his partying started affecting his career. And as far as under the radar, yeah, I think he's gonna eventually learn that lesson. Unfortunately, that's a lesson that's very hard to learn for people who gain fame all of a sudden, because he's just a kid, right? He just wants to have fun. He wants to go out with his friends. He wants to party just like any of us. The difference is anything he does all of a sudden had to be scrutinized. And, in a world where news is 24 hours and you have to fill the 24 hours, everything gets dissected. Oh, no, look, his buckle doesn't match his shoes. Like, oh, what does that mean? We got an expert on psychology that's going to tell us what that means. Oh, and now we got an expert on fashion. He's going to tell us what this means. It's like, doesn't mean anything. He just fucking wore the wrong buckle. It's like, it's crazy. These days, they just want to scrutinize everything because, unfortunately, it's 24-hour news, TikToks, social media, and you have to fill. You have to get the clicks. You have to get the ratings. So I just got to fill the time. And if I have to talk out of my ass to fill that time, so be it. If it hurts people, who cares? I'm making my money, right? It's like this whole thing with Spanish ministry. It's like, well, what are you guys doing? Like, you're literally hurting the people you claim to be protecting. But I think he'll learn that lesson. I think he'll be more careful. Unfortunately, it happens to everybody who becomes famous all of a sudden. It's different maybe if you were born into fame, like the kids of Will Smith or something. But when you're just an average Joe and then boom, you become famous. Lamine Yamal, before last season, he was just a kid at Barcelona that hardly anyone knew of him. And then boom, overnight, he's this sensation and one of the most recognized names and faces in the world. It gets time to get used to that. But yeah, I hope he learns that lesson because unfortunately, that's a lot of miserable people out there who hate to see success and hate to see people doing better than they are doing. So all they want to do is bring those people down because it makes them feel a little bit better about themselves, about, not accomplishing what they set out to accomplish. And it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate, but that's the reality of the world. Hopefully he learns that lesson sooner than later so he can, lead a peaceful life. But let's get back to the news because yesterday, El Chiringuito, if you don't know what the Chiringuito is, #1 football program in Spain. It's pretty much a circus, honestly. Complete circus. It's the mouthpiece of Florentino Perez. Just a bunch of Madridistas saying dumb shit. It's hilarious to watch them before matches when they're like, Madrid's going to win, Madrid's going to destroy. And then you watch the reactions afterwards. It's priceless. There's compilations of it. Like when they got humiliated by PSG. They're like, we're going to destroy PSG, blah, blah, blah. And then you show their faces afterwards. And it's like, bro, why would you think that? Like, it's last season too. It's like they lose 4-0 to Barcelona. And then the next match, Madrid is going to blow Barcelona apart. And it's like, but you just lost 4-0. But okay, fine. Maybe that was a spoof. Barcelona win 5-1. Comes the Copa del Rey. Real Madrid, they're going to destroy Barcelona. It's like, okay, now you're talking about 2 matches where Madrid were destroyed. Again, why would you think that all of a sudden? And then even for the 4th match, what's it called? The one in the La Liga, same thing. Madrid is gonna destroy. It's like, bro, you just lost 3 times. Why do you think this 4th time is gonna be? But anyways, Chiringuito, or the circus show called El Chiringuito, reported yesterday that Barcelona are interested in Bryan Zaragoza, the 23-year-old left winger who currently is a Bayern Munich player. He spent last season with Osasuna, where he played 27 matches, scored 1 goal, and provided 7 assists. Of course, Bryan Zaragoza has been linked with Barcelona in the past. Barcelona considered his loan last summer briefly. He was also linked with Barcelona before his move to Bayern Munich, when he was, making a lot of headlines and splash. And it's like, Bryan Zaragoza, the next best thing to come out of Spanish football. Hasn't really worked out too well for him, except when he plays against Barca. I don't know how, but whenever Bryan Zaragoza plays against Barca, he becomes like Messi 2.0. But then for the rest of the season, he just like disappears. But nonetheless, Chiringuito reported yesterday that Barcelona now, with the failed signing of Nico Williams, they are considering the signing of Bryan Zaragoza. And that, of course, that news caught like wildfire because, again, the circus called El Chiringuito, it is the #1 source of news in Spain. Well, I'm here to tell you that there's no truth to these reports. Was Bryan Zaragoza considered as an option once the Nico Williams signing fell off? Yes, because when Nico announced that he was staying at Atletico Bilbao, Barcelona sat down. They opened their black book or whatever the hell they have, and they're like, all right, what are the options? We have this guy, Bryan Zaragoza. Okay, maybe. Was he considered amongst a list of many players? Yes. The answer is yes. But is Barcelona actually interested in signing him? No. Has Barcelona actually reached out to the player? No. Has Barcelona actually reached out to Bayern Munich? No. So there's no contacts. He's not like a priority. Barcelona not trying to sign him. He was simply considered as an option, like every club considers all the options on the table. It's like I've explained before. When a club wants to sign, for example, a center forward, they don't just say, we want this guy, and that's it. They sit down, they analyze the market, they come up with maybe 15 options. Once they have the 15 options, they study them closely, and they might narrow it down to 5 options. And then from those 5 options, they'll have their number one priority, the backup, and the last option. And then they go in order, right? Hey, you want to come? No? Okay, move on to the next one. And that's how it works. So, yes, he was considered alongside many other names, but he's not a priority. Barcelona are not trying to sign him. They have not made any contacts. So if you come across a report, Barcelona going to sign Bryan Zaragoza, click that red box in the right corner with an X in it and move on. All right, let's go back to the comment section, and then we are going to talk about Christopher Nkunku. How fun is Nkunku's name, by the way? Nkunku. That's a really fun name to say. Let's see. If I was related to him, I could be Mokunku. Barca for Life says Deco needs to be fired ASAP. If he actually goes for Zaragoza, he's not. Abdallah says if Rashford comes, he should teach Lamine about his. Oh wait, I already read that. All right, there we go. Best in the game says thank you, Mo. These people were paid for the service, just like every actor in Hollywood whose job is to entertain. Example given: Lord of the Rings, the Game of Thrones, who used dwarves in the. Yeah, exactly. I mean, oh no, now you cannot watch Lord of the Rings or Game of Thrones because hey, you're discriminating against dwarves because you're watching them and you're laughing when they make a joke, and you're obviously not laughing at their joke. You're laughing at them. It's like, what are we doing here? What are we doing here? Nima says if you can't hire dwarf entertainers, by that logic, you shouldn't be allowed to. Blondes or tall people, ADE are the discriminators here. I agree. I mean, the NBA purposely hires tall people, right? I mean, obviously, you also have to be skilled and be able to play. But if you're not tall, you're not going to be hired because you have to be tall, right? The basket is pretty high up. The taller you are, the easier it is to reach it, the easier it is to block. So apparently that's discrimination. The NBA is discriminating against people against tall people because obviously tall people are not to be hired as entertainers because that's demeaning to them because you're obviously discriminating against them because they're tall. It's like, what? That's pretty much the same logic here. Or football, right? The NFL, American football, I should specify. The NFL, you have to be a certain size. Otherwise, you're going to get creamed. So now apparently you cannot watch NFL matches because it's discriminatory against big people because obviously, you're discriminating against them for watching them play, right? I mean, what the hell? David says, wonder if the Spanish ministry are investigating why no charges were proffered against Valverde. No, of course not. By the way, Teo Hernandez, when he was at Madrid, he also hired entertainers, dwarves who were entertainers. And there was no investigation. I mean, there shouldn't be because, again, you shouldn't prevent dwarves or entertainers from working because you think it's wrong. But it's interesting to see how they're making a big fuss, which they shouldn't be making to begin with, against Lamine Yamal, but not against Teo, which, again, they shouldn't be making it against either. But nonetheless, it is interesting that they did it against a Barca player, but not a Madrid player, which I'm not advocating that they should have because I think this whole thing is ridiculous. But, you get the point. And we have a donation from Sanjog. Says, I know the dwarf thing is blown way out of proportion, but Yamal needs to be protected. I don't understand what his parents are doing. I mean, honestly, 18 years old, throwing a party for turning 18, I don't really think that's necessarily something bad. I mean, we all wanted to go all out for our 18th birthday, or if you're in the US for your 21st birthday. So I don't necessarily believe that having your kid throw a huge 18 birthday party is necessarily not protecting him, unless we find out that there was drugs and hookers and all these things that maybe an 18-year-old shouldn't be doing. In that case, sure. But just to throw a big party, I mean, we all wanted a big party for our 18th or 21st birthday. The difference is we don't make millions. Or we didn't make millions. I mean, I still don't, to allow us. So I don't know if that necessarily means not protecting your kid. I mean, it's his 18th birthday. We'll see. Sneaky Ninja says Zaragoza is that guy who only turns up against Barca, Rashford, and Nusa Clear. Yeah, it's what I said. Whenever he plays against Barca, I mean, the guy becomes like Messi 2.0, and then he just doesn't do anything for the rest of the season until he has to play against Barca again. Noe Corp says, good evening, Mo, from Houston, Texas. Let's go. Thanks for the great connect all the time. Wish you the best in your lawyer career with much love, brother. Thank you, my friend. Thank you for watching. I hope everything is good where you at. I know there were some flooding in Texas. Hopefully, you and your family are safe, or I'm not sure if it was close to Houston. I know it was closer to Austin, but I hope everything's good out in Texas. Be safe, my friend. And Prince says, dude's name is epic. I love it and would love to see him unleashed at Barca. It is a pretty good name, Nkunku. Let's see. And Nima says, Nkunku's name is even funnier in Farsi. Kunku sounds like, where's that ass? Okay. I like it. So maybe I should name myself Mo Kunku. I'd be like, yo, where's that ass? Sneaky Ninja says, oh no, Lamine hired Wars for his birthday. How could he? These news channels and Madridistas can't be serious, for fuck's sakes. Agree. And with that, let's get back to the last bit of news, and then we'll do more news, because since now my new name will be Mo Kunku, let's talk about Christopher Nkunku, because reports out of England, no, actually it wasn't England, Florian Plettenberg. He's in Germany, not England, completely different countries. But Florian Plettenberg, who's a very good source of news in the transfer market, kind of like, a German Fabrizio Romano. I think Plettenberg is German. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Anyways, regardless, he's good, okay? But Florian Plettenberg has reported that Christopher Nkunku has emerged as an option for Barcelona in case, and I emphasize in case, the Marcus Rashford deal does not go through. Now, as I mentioned before, Nico Williams was the number one priority. It didn't work out. Then it became Luis Diaz. That has been determined as an unfeasible operation because 85 million euros we cannot afford. Plus, even if we could, it would be a very dumb thing to do, to pay 85 million for Luis Diaz. Not because he's not good, but because he is 29 years old, and that means losing your investment immediately starts to devalue. It's kind of like a car. As soon as you buy it, it starts to lose value. Same thing. But then there was, of course, now that the two priorities were out, Nico decided to stay at Athletic Club. Luis Diaz we can afford. There were kind of like these three options floating around. We had Leao, who Laporta liked, but the rest of the club didn't. We had Lookman, who some people liked, but there wasn't really consensus on. And there was Rashford, right? Rashford, who doesn't also generate consensus, but Hansi Flick did greenlight the operation. So now Barcelona will try to sign Rashford, with talks set to begin this week. But in case that operation does not work, Christopher Nkunku would be the backup. Now, Nkunku naturally is a center forward, or that's where he mainly plays. But he, of course, can also play in the left wing. And that's kind of like Rashford, except Rashford is the opposite, right? Rashford is a left winger who can play as a center forward. Nkunku is more as a center forward who can play as a left winger. But the two of them can cover those two positions, something that Barcelona are looking in a winger, because, of course, we only have Lewandowski, and Lewandowski at 36, about to be 37 years old, is not going to be able to play 90 minutes of every single match. So it's nice to have a left winger who can also play as a center forward, so it can alternate with Lewandowski. Now, what's the problem with Nkunku is that, of course, Chelsea did sign him for 60 million euros in 2023. So, and his contract expires in 2029. So, of course, it's not going to be a cheap option. Now, Chelsea do have a need to offload players because, of course, every transfer market, they sign 200 players. So they end up having to offload another 100 that they had signed from the previous market. So that could potentially be a plus in Barcelona's column, because they can use that to try to negotiate a lower price and be like, hey, you guys are desperate. Let's strike a bargain. But nonetheless, this is still an option in case Marcus Rashford does not arrive. Now, you might say, Mo, why not just go for Nkunku to begin with? Because, of course, if it comes between Nkunku and Rashford is free. Nkunku is not. So Barcelona would rather go for Rashford since he is a free option. Plus, Flick has already greenlit this operation. And if Rashford, the free option, cannot come, then Barcelona could consider making the investment in Nkunku. Plus, Nkunku would not be a loan. I don't see Chelsea wanting to loan him out. It's probably going to be a permanent transfer because they need to offload players. So, of course, free Loan is going to be a better option than not free. We'll see how much Chelsea would want. And of course, a permanent transfer. Now, there's also talks about maybe Mason Greenwood also being an option that Barcelona could consider if Rashford doesn't arrive. But again, like Rashford, Mason Greenwood is not going to be cheap. They're saying 40, 50 mil. He did sign with Marseille not too long ago. He has a contract until 2029. So, of course, for now, it's going to be Rashford. If Rashford doesn't happen, we know that Nkunku and Greenwood could be the alternatives. All right, let's do the comment. Let's do the comment section, and then we will end the podcast. And then I'm doing another video later tonight because, of course, there's always news about Barcelona. Carlos says, if we can't get a left-winger specialist, then we shouldn't sign anyone. We already have many players that can cover the left wing that are not specialists. Yeah, but I mean, Rashford is a specialist, and Nkunku can play there, has played there. Greenwood's technically a right winger, but can play on the left. So we'll see. Let's take it one step at a time. Given Barcelona's finances, financial fair play, it's best that we look at it one step at a time. The step right now is Rashford. If that doesn't work, we can discuss the next step. So we'll see. Nathan says, hey, Mo, I love your channel. I was wondering why haven't Barca looked into the direction of Eze from Crystal Palace? I don't know. It's not a question that I can answer. I can only tell you what Barcelona are interested in. I cannot tell you why they're not interested in other players or why they're not considering other players. That would be a question for Deco and his staff. And Shin says, let's take it easy today on Chelsea. They did, after all, dispatch the evil PSG convincingly, but do you, Mo? Oh, man. That was a crazy match. I did not expect that. I was so wrong about that. I was like, PSG, they're going to roll over, steamroll Chelsea, and it's going to be game over. And not only did they not steamroll, but they didn't even win. And they won by lost by 3-0. And on top of that, Chelsea completely shut them down. This wasn't like, close match or, PSG had it in the bag, but they lost. No. This was like Chelsea shut down completely PSG, and they beat them 3-0 in the first half. Which, by the way, I had this guy comment. He's like, Cole Palmer is better than Lamine Yamal. Sometimes I really think that there should be like laws against people with very low intelligence and, allowing them to watch sports, because if you're going to tell me Cole Palmer is better than Lamine, Cole Palmer that shows up once every 10 matches is better than Lamine. The same Cole Palmer that lost the Euros where Lamine won it. But I guess freedom of thinking or freedom of thought, I guess, also applies to idiotic thoughts as well. Turner says, Mo, you are superb. Trust me, your program is just like to me, please. It's just like to me, please update me about Rashford, bro. My wife knows your program and she also loves it. Well, thank you, my friend. Thank you for watching the show. Rashford talks are going to begin this week. That's about it. There's not much. There's not much news besides that. Mark says, Rashford and Nkunku, why are Barcelona even interested in rejects from other clubs? Well, here's the thing. Technically, every player you sign is a reject from another club. Otherwise, they wouldn't sell them, right? It's kind of like Lamine Yamal is untouchable, no matter how much money they offer us. So technically, every player you sign is a reject from another club. But why? Because we can't afford anything else. If you are broke and you need a car and you go buy some old beat up car, it's not because you want to. I'm sure everybody would love to drive a Ferrari or a Lamborghini, but if that's all you can afford, what else are you going to do? Not have a car and walk 10 miles to work? So Umaru says, let's sign Rashford because he needs the team so he can play well. AJ Conte from Sierra Leone, West Africa. And Mr. XP says, Lookman and Nusa can be great signings. And also, what do you think of Gerard Martin? Is he a good sub? And Rashford on loan is good for me to see if he can prove to himself, and me if he can play good. As far as Gerard Martin, I've had my doubts about him, but I've also seen him improve a lot. And Flick seems to think that Gerard Martin is a good sub. So far, Flick has not given me any reasons to doubt him, right? And if we've seen Gerard Martin improve so much, remember the first matches of Gerard Martin versus towards the end of the season? Huge difference, right? He's still not at the level where I'm like, whoa, Champions League kind of left back, but he has improved a lot. So maybe what Flick sees in him is that he has a high ceiling or a higher ceiling, and that he's just not there yet because we have seen him improve. If it was the same Gerard Martin all throughout season, I'm like, all right, this guy's not improving. Like, why does Flick think he will? But he did continue to improve all throughout the season. So maybe Flick thinks that he still has room to continue improving and be a more reliable sub. That's what I'm thinking, right? But anyways, AKFBC. Hey, Mo, Araujo says this season you will see my peak. What do you think about this? We know they want sell him, but what do you think about this situation? I think the club needs cannibal center backs. Here's the thing. Deco does not want to sell Araujo. Deco is fully betting on Araujo. He considers him untouchable. Araujo wants to stay. It was Deco who did everything in his power to renew him. So it doesn't look like he's leaving or that Deco wants to sell him. And I say Deco because even if other people at the club want to sell him, at the end of the day, it's up to Deco, right? He's the sporting director. Unless Flick tells him, hey, get this guy out of here, it ends up being Deco's full decision. And even if Flick tells him that, Deco could still be like, it's my decision, so he stays. What do I think about that? I think Araujo's a very talented center back. He hasn't fit in Flick's system. That doesn't make him, trash like people want to make it out to be. That's not the case. Not fitting into a system is not the same as just being trash. Being trash, that means you don't fit anywhere. You're just not good. And we've seen Araujo, for example, under Xavi, he was an excellent center back. Under Flick, no, because it's a different system. So we obviously know that he is capable. Now the question will be, is he capable of learning Flick's system? And since he is staying, my hope is that yes. Now, with Araujo staying, it might be bad for Barcelona for the financial fair play because they need to offload players to clear space on the wage bill. But for the team, I think it's actually it's a plus because we're seeing that Christensen also wants to stay. And we're seeing that the two of them, Araujo and Christensen, are staying not because they're like, I got a contract, I'm just going to sit on the bench and earn my big check, kind of like what Umtiti did. No, we've seen that the two of them want to stay, and they want to stay and fight for the spots. How do I know this? Because the two of them got their vacation short, and the two of them began the preseason early. So that tells me that the two of them want to work hard to earn their spot. And that's good. That's good for everybody. That's going to be good for them because Christensen and Araujo are going to be working really, really hard and putting their head down because they want that spot. And that's going to be good for Cubarsí and Íñigo because they're going to be like, oh, shit, these two guys are like breathing down my neck. Like they're trying to take my spot. So now I have to up my game. So now everybody's going to up their game. Araujo and Cubarsí and Íñigo are going to up their game because they don't want to lose their spots, even though I doubt Cubarsí would lose his spot to anybody. And Christensen and Araujo are going to up their game because they want those spots. And at the end of the day, competition is good for any team. Mark says Barcelona should be interested in other teams' best players, not rejects. False. Barcelona should be interested in players that could fit their system. And that's not always someone who is the best player from the other team. Sometimes that player that the other team rejected could be exactly what you need because he fits your system, but doesn't fit necessarily the team system that rejected. So that's false, that Barcelona should be interested in best players. That's why we have scouts and that's why we have analysts. Because if it was just easy, we just get the best players. Anybody could be a sporting director. Hey, hello, who's your best player? Okay, I want him. Done. Does it fit in your system? Who knows? Do we need him? Who cares? He's the best player of that team, so that's it. I got to get him, right? It's not as simple as that. Otherwise, we wouldn't have scouts. We wouldn't have analysts. We wouldn't have, dozens and hundreds of people sitting down, analyzing players and figuring out, is that player going to be good for my team or not? It would just be a simple call. It's like, who's your best player? Okay, sign him up. So no. Med says the perfect options for Barca are Nusa, Rashford, or Zaragoza. No, Zaragoza. Come on, let's be real. Nkunku is no way near Barca level. And Costadin says, Martin last couple of games where he covered for Kunde played good, not Kunde level, but definitely surprised. I don't think Martin covered for Kunde. It was Eddie Garcia who covered for Kunde. Martin covered for Balde. Or am I misremembering? I don't remember Gerard Martin playing on the right. Or am I misremembering? Let me know. Mr. XP says, what if Flick puts Gerard Martin in the same role game plan of Kunde with Lamine? For me, he might approve, but I don't see him as a sub for Balde. We need Lukman, Nusa, and Vanderson. Loved videos. Well, the problem with Gerard Martin is obviously he's not an offensive left back, fullback. He's a left back. He's a wing back, I guess. No, more left back. So if he were to start attacking like Kunde does with Lamine, I think it would take him some time to learn. So maybe that's what you mean, the same game plan as Kunde, because Kunde, we know, would stay late and learn how to attack, and we've seen it happen. So yeah. Ebenezer says, hey, Mo, I have no meaningful contribution. I just want to say great job with the channel. I really enjoy your videos. Can't wait for the next season to start. So, well, thank you, my friend. That was a meaningful contribution because that, lets me know that the work I'm doing is appreciated. And that, of course, keeps me going. So thank you, my friend, for that comment. And Destin says, why are we selling Cospo? This is so stupid. I talked about this at the beginning of a live, but I'll say it again. It's not stupid. I know I've seen the videos. People claiming that this is a tragedy, that we're somehow losing the next Maldini. Cospo wanted to leave. He left. The guy played 12 matches all of last season. If he was that good, he would have played the whole season. Flick called him up once to training, never called him again. Again, if he was that good, he would have called him. So let's stop with the hyperbole. Everybody acting like we just lost the next Puyol. Let's chill. Turner says, Mo, what I like in Barcelona is they really like promoting their young stars. I agree. And Street Fighter says, hey, Mo, are we going to play a local match of preseason? I mean, yeah, the Joan Gamper Trophy against Como. And finally, Carlos says, I bet people complaining about Cospo haven't seen him play. They just hear stuff and repeat it. Yeah, I mean, before yesterday, nobody knew who Cospo was. And all of a sudden, news breaks that Barcelona sold him. And it's like some YouTubers make videos. And all of a sudden, Cospo! Bro, I was your fan since I was 3 years old. Cospo! Let's chill. Anyways, that is all the news. Thank you so much for tuning in, for your likes, your comments, your subscriptions, and your generous donations. I will be making another video shortly, so stay tuned to the channel. Don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, drop a comment, and as always, Viscarsa.